Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and this week we have Megan here, and Megan is going to tell us about her beautiful experience on Crystal Symphony to East Africa. Megan, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Megan. I live in Baltimore, Maryland, where I work as a forensic psychiatrist. And first got into cruising only a few years ago in 2021. So I'm somewhat new to it, but have sailed several lines. And Crystal by far has been my favorite, and I'm very excited to talk more about it.
Amazing, amazing. So take us back to what made you decide on this particular ship or itinerary. Clue us into that.
So Crystal, as you may know, is a very small line. They only have two ships, Serenity and Symphony. I have sailed both and have a slight affinity for Symphony. It's a bit of a smaller ship. I think the social spaces are laid out a little bit better, in my opinion. So I tend to seek out itineraries that are on the Symphony. But I had first seen this itinerary because they had listed it as a reduced solo supplement cruise. So I sometimes cruise with other people and sometimes I cruise by myself, probably about 50-50. Um, and so I always keep an eye on deals for solo travelers, since often when you're cruising, if you're by yourself, you can pay up to double to be in a room by
Mhm.
yourself. So more and more cruise lines are catching on that people want to travel solo and are offering on certain itineraries reduced supplements to sail by yourself. And so that's where I first found this itinerary. And it looked just so fascinating to me. I had never been to Africa. I had a big interest in seeing Madagascar and knew somewhat about the interesting and diverse and unique wildlife on Madagascar. And so that was really the primary draw for me.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So tell us about the ship and specifically if you can, because, just compare and contrast. Because you said that on the symphony, the social spaces are a little bit better laid out than on Crystal Serenity. So, yeah, give us an overall sort of sense of the ship and then talk about those social spaces.
Yeah. And to be fair, they're both fabulous ships, and I love Serenity as well. But so both ships, again, they're not tiny, but they're not huge. So I think somewhere around 600 maximum capacity on Symphony and a little bit more on Serenity, maybe 700, something like that. There are sort of two main social spaces built around bars, of course, for pre-dinner cocktails or afterwards, which is, I always like to have a pre-dinner cocktail. So that is where you'll find me. And the main one is called the Cove. And this is on the sort of primary level of the ship where the front desk is, where the main dining room is. And so the Cove is a space just outside the main dining room, and it just has a slightly different layout on Symphony than it does on Serenity. It's a round bar that's right in the middle of the room. And it's a great space. But if you're sitting on one side, you may not be able to see who's sitting on the other side. And so when you're a solo traveler and you're meeting people and you want to, see who's there and maybe connect with somebody you're on an excursion with or saw in the spa or something, like you can't really see half of the bar on the other side.
Right.
Where it's on Symphony, the bar is set to the side. And so it's much more of an open space set up
Mm.
to encourage people to sit together. You can sit at the bar, you can sit in chairs around tables that they've laid out. So I like that aspect of it a bit better. I think also there is a piano bar on board called the Avenue Saloon on both ships. And I think just, again, the layout of the Avenue on Symphony makes a little bit more sense to me as far as the layout and being able to see the performer. So it's just very small differences. Otherwise, they all have the same venues, the same bars, restaurants, spaces are otherwise very similar between the two ships.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I mean, that makes a huge difference just to be able to, especially whether you're traveling alone or with other people, just in those social situations, to be able to encourage conversation. Because that's why a lot of us cruise, is because we like to talk to other cruisers, like to talk to other travelers. So, yeah.
Yeah.
How about the room?
So on this particular sailing, I sailed in a Sapphire Ocean View suite. So several years
Mm,
ago, well, maybe only about 2 years ago, Crystal put the symphony into dry dock and did some renovations to some of the rooms. Part of that was to add some solo traveler cabins, which is great. And some of them were to add suites that do not include a balcony. So previously on Crystal, every single room had a balcony. And they have added, again, some options that do not have the balcony. So, of course, they're slightly less expensive without the balcony. And for some people, that's a very important part of their room. And for certain itineraries, I think for me as well, it's been an
mm,
important part of choosing a room.
yeah.
On this particular itinerary, knowing that I was going to be off the ship quite a bit, it was going to be very nice and warm, and I could always go to the pool deck. It was not a priority for me to have a balcony. So, having the option to book a suite without that at a more affordable cost that then I could spend on more excursions and fun things like that was a
Hmm.
huge benefit for me. I didn't actually seek out to book the suite. It was simply what was left. I would have been very happy in a standard room on Crystal, which are always also very lovely, but it was quite luxurious to have a suite all to myself. So the Sapphire Suite does have two rooms. You can close off between the living room and the bedroom, which, of course, by myself, I didn't need to do. But if you're traveling with somebody who maybe sleeps in more than you do and you want to pop out to the living
Hmm.
room to have some coffee delivered or whatever, it provides a nice separation for that. So it's a
Yeah.
really lovely suite. All categories of rooms now on Crystal do come with a butler. So I had a really wonderful butler who helped me with dinner reservations and kept my mini bar stocked with tons of Perrier and my favorite rosé, and he was really wonderful.
That's awesome. So let me just clarify something. The Crystal Symphony has single rooms, rooms that are tailored for single travelers, but this wasn't one of them. It had a reduced single supplement, but you were still in a suite that might have been, that was maybe made for more than one person, but because this was what was left and there was a single supplement, you were able to nab a higher level suite, like a higher level room. Am I getting that right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome. And so, was it two bedrooms or just two rooms, a bedroom and then a separate living area?
Correct. It's a bedroom and a separate living area.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the bathroom, tell us about the all important bathroom. What was that
Yeah.
like?
The bathroom is huge for a cruise ship, especially. So it has double sinks, a huge walk-in shower that has the rainfall shower head, but
Mm,
also has jets coming from the wall and a handheld. So there's all different settings to figure out the first time you walk in the shower, but it's very luxurious and lovely. They have wonderful products on board as far as the shampoo and lotion. I believe it's a brand called Ortega. It smells wonderful
hmm.
and they're very nice products. So yeah, the bathroom is fabulous. You can enter the bathroom both from the bedroom and from the living area. So again, if you're with somebody who's sleeping in or whatever, you can still get into the bathroom and get ready and refresh yourself while your partner sleeps. And there is also a fabulous walk-in closet across from the bathroom, which is always a nice thing to have, again, especially on a cruise ship.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you're traveling. How long was the cruise? How many nights?
This itinerary was 10.
Yeah. So 10 days plus, I think most of Africa is pretty hot. And so especially seems like Madagascar would be hot. So maybe like you need a wardrobe change, right? Like during the day, you're going to be wearing one thing when maybe later on in the evening, you're going to be wearing, something maybe more upscale, something nicer. So you need all that space for all those clothes.
Absolutely. Yes. There were days with three outfits between being out on an excursion, coming back to the ship for the afternoon to sit by the pool or go to tea in Palm Court and then dress for dinner. So, yeah, even though, it wasn't a super, super long itinerary, yes, you do need to pack accordingly.
Yeah, awesome. Did they have laundry service on? I love laundry service
So,
on a
the
cruise ship. Did they have laundry service?
They do have laundry service. So they have some self-serve laundry rooms. I believe there's two on the ship. So if you
Hmm.
want to do your own laundry, you can do that. For anybody who's been on a cruise ship, it's been pretty much the same on every ship I've been on, where there's instructions on the wall. It's sort of all preloaded with detergent. You load your
Mm.
stuff in, push some buttons, and off it goes. On this particular trip, I happened to book during a promotion that included a laundry package. So I was able to send out up to 5 pieces a day for pressing, 5 pieces a day for dry cleaning, for complimentary, and then also one full bag of laundry at any time during the cruise. So I about halfway through stuffed a
Yeah.
full bag of laundry with, my plain outfit to get that refreshed before going back. And then some of the clothes I had worn on excursions that, yes, were wet and muddy. And so it was a really nice treat to have somebody else do my laundry for me. But even if you don't happen to book during a promotion that includes it complimentary, of course, you can pay per piece. And honestly, the prices are very reasonable. I actually paid more at my dry cleaner here to have dresses dry cleaned than what they charge on the ships. I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
just bring stuff to get dry cleaned in the future. Um, and of course, you can always do yourself as well. And there are ironing boards in the laundry rooms because, again, anybody who has cruised knows you
Yeah.
cannot have irons in the room because of the fire hazard.
Right.
But they do have some dedicated in the laundry room. So if you need to iron something, wash something, that is available.
That's beautiful. That's just, and like talking about laundry doesn't seem like luxury, but anyone who's been on a cruise for longer than more like 3 or 4 days, like it is nice. It is nice to be able to have like clean clothes, and especially if someone else is cleaning them and folding them for you.
And they smell so
That's
good. I
really
don't know
nice.
what detergent they
Right.
use. It's fabulous.
That's awesome. I never noticed that. Certainly not on any of my non-luxurious trips, right? That the laundry smells particularly good. So that's a bonus.
Oh,
Amazing.
Crystal, it's very, very good about managing people with allergies, whether it's food or down comforters or pillows or
Hmm.
detergent. So they do have options if you are somebody who has very sensitive skin or breaks out from detergent and you don't want it smelling strongly of a detergent. You can request that they use the unscented sensitive skin detergent. And again, they also have that for the bedding. There's a whole pillow menu, so if you like a certain firmness or again, you're allergic to down or something like that, they will always accommodate.
I love that. That's fabulous. I'm all about like as many accommodations being available for as many different types of people and their needs. I absolutely love that. I love it. Did any other amenities come with the room?
I'm trying to think what's different. Well, Crystal is an all-inclusive line. So your drinks, cocktails, wine, mini bar, everything is included off the bat. So of course there is a lovely mini bar, but again, it's already included. You do
Hmm.
get, if you're in a suite, any type of suite, or so not the most basic rooms, but most of the room categories, you will get afternoon canapes delivered to your room if you like them.
Hmm.
You can, of course, also, let your butler know, like, all they do is feed you. It shifts. So sometimes
Right. Right.
to call him and be like, no canapes for me today.
Yeah.
But it is a nice touch. When you first enter your suite on the day of embarkation, there's a lovely bottle of champagne waiting for you. So that's a nice touch. Other than that, I'm trying to think of anything particularly different, but really there's no wanting for anything on a crystal ship. They really take care of so much.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So let's segue into the food and dining. Tell us about the different dining options and your experience with them.
Yeah. So the main dining room is called Waterside. And honestly, it is fabulous. They do have specialty restaurants on board, and I'll talk about those as well. But I have to say, the main dining room is incredible. Menu changes every single day, as do the recommended wine pairings. So you get to try different types of cuisine, different wine pairings. And of course, you can always order off the standard wine menu,
Hmm.
and they will make you a bunch of standard dishes that aren't included on the menu on a regular basis. So, if you just want a steak or you just want grilled salmon with vegetables, even if it's not on the menu, they will always make that for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the menu changes daily. What I really love too about Waterside, and actually most of their specialty restaurants, is you can always ask for a half portion, which is great. Cause again,
Hmm.
eating so much on these ships. And sometimes you want to try several things. So much on the menu looks
Yeah.
incredible. And so it's nice to be able to ask for half portions of several things that you can try.
Hmm.
So again, I will say the main dining room is incredible. There is on itineraries over 7 days, they will do a formal night. It is optional to dress formally, but they will always have caviar and lobster in the main dining room on those nights. So I
Awesome.
actually had a specialty restaurant booked for that night. And when I saw that it was formal night, I said, oh no, I have to eat in the main dining room for formal night. I need my caviar and
Yeah,
lobster tail. And it was
absolutely.
big. They also have several specialty restaurants on board. The newest one is called Beef Bar. This is a restaurant that I believe originated in Monaco. So there is a location in Monaco, and then I believe just on the Serenity and the Symphony are there only 3 locations. As the name suggests, they are heavy on the steak and the beef, but they do have other options: seafood, vegetarian. It's really spectacular. Probably had one of the best filet mignons I've ever had in my life on that ship.
Hmm.
And they have all different accompaniments to order with it. And that's really fantastic. And again, newest one. One that they have had since I started cruising with them is a restaurant called Umi Uma, which is a sushi restaurant actually run by Nobu. So
Hmm.
you'll hear people call it Nobu at sea. And again, you get one reservation included in every itinerary that you're on, but you can do a second reservation, I think for just $65 or $75 a person, which if you've ever eaten at Nobu on land,
It's a
that
bargain.
is a bargain. And what I typically do at Umi Uma is let the waiter decide for me what to eat, and they will bring you a wonderful array of various dishes and sushi, and it's all just absolutely spectacular. Um,
That's awesome. Let me pause you for 1 second. I have a question about that because I have had experience in a restaurant like that where I've been several times to the same restaurant and the wait staff always says, "Let me just bring you the food." But invariably, it's always the same. They always bring the favorites, the quote unquote, I'm in air quotes, like they bring the favorites. And so I never actually get a chance to try something different off the menu. Was that your experience at Nobu, or did the different servers mix it up for you?
Yeah, it's sort of a combination. There are certainly a couple fan favorites that they will always suggest. And then depending on the server, they may have their own favorites. So I tend to get a mix. You can also always say, like, you know what, I've actually had that the last 2 times that I've eaten. Is there something else you might suggest?
Hmm.
They're always
Yeah,
happy and excited to work with you to bring you stuff that's different, new, that hopefully you'll really enjoy. So yeah, it's a bit of a combination, I would say.
awesome. Awesome. So continue, please, with the
Yeah.
food. We love the food.
So the last specialty restaurant is an Italian restaurant called Osteria. And this is also a newer concept for Crystal. They have always had an Italian specialty restaurant, but this particular iteration of it is, I think, only about a year old, run by two brothers from Italy who have several Michelin stars between them and have created a very interesting menu of, it's not your sort of what Americans think of traditional Italian food. And it's a mix of sort of northern and southern. So the menu is sort of divided into 3 categories based on sort of regions, and you can order down the line on one menu or you can mix and match. Again, you can always get half portions to try different things. And so that's been very interesting as well, and a little bit different than your just standard, again, what we Americans think of as Italian food.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that. And I love that they're based on like European restaurants. Sounds like they also are, so you're not just getting, I mean, no shade on, Guy's Burgers, because I've never had a Guy's Burger and I'm like, I'm almost ready to like jump on a Carnival ship just to get some Guy's Burgers. But these are restaurants that don't exist in the US. And so it's another great reason to hop on a Crystal ship to get really something unique from a culinary standpoint.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always a fun experience to go and try different things. So yeah, aside from the specialty restaurants, of course, there's more casual eateries that you can go to sort of all day. There's a grill by the pool that's open most of the day where you can get your standard sort of burgers, fries, chicken Caesar salad wraps, that type of fare. Right next to there is a gelato bar, which is fabulous and open for most of the day as well. And of course, 24/7 in-room dining is included. So they have
Amazing.
a 24-hour room service menu. They will also actually bring you anything on the menu in Waterside in the main dining room during those hours. So if you don't feel like going down to the dining room and you want to eat in your suite, but you really like the menu at Waterside, no problem. You can always order that straight to your room, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, especially, we've all had those days where it's been a really long excursion. It's maybe hotter than you expected, or it was more strenuous than you expected, and you just can't bring yourself to like get dressed to go to a dining room. You're just like, please just bring me my food. I just want to relax in my giant room.
Yes.
Awesome. Speaking of excursions, did you go on Crystal sponsored excursions or did you do independent excursions?
On this trip, I did all Crystal sponsored excursions. And I tend to book the excursions through Crystal for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're vetted tour operators. Number two is, things can happen, especially when you're
Mhm.
in more rural destinations or destinations that are a bit more undeveloped, and the roads can be very
Yeah.
variable in their condition, especially, I was in East Africa during the wet season. And so,
Mhm.
if something happens and you're delayed, if you're on a private excursion, they're not holding the ship for you.
Yeah.
But I've had it happen where I have been delayed on a Crystal excursion and they are going to hold the ship for you, and make sure
Yeah.
that you get back on. So to me, that sort of extra bit of security and safety has always been a big consideration for me because, again, things are unpredictable in travel and things can go wrong. So knowing that you are, again, with a vetted tour operator, there's always a Crystal representative on every single excursion, is that extra layer of sort of protection and security. And I will say I enjoyed all of the excursions very much. I think they do a great job. They honestly, for the price, are not unreasonable. I think they're very fairly priced and they have an incredible variety of excursions. So if you want to do something, not particularly strenuous, you just want a little walk around town or a food tasting sort of experience in town, they have that. And then they also have like some of the excursions that I went on this time where you're boating out to nature reserves and hiking through the rainforest for 2 hours on wet ground and seeing all the wildlife, which is really fabulous. So they have a good variety of options available. I've never sort of looked at all the excursions and thought, I don't want to do any of these.
Yeah.
It's always
Nothing is appealing to me. And are the excursions included? It sounds like the excursions are an additional cost.
the excursions are an additional cost on Crystal.
Yeah. And was there anything about like a particular excursion that stood out that you could tell that this was a more luxurious experience or a more exclusive experience because it was through Crystal?
Honestly, I'm not sure because again, I didn't do any private excursions. There were people who did private excursions who had wonderful experiences. And I'm sure in many of these destinations that are used to getting tourists, there are lots of tour operators who are going to do a great job. And hopefully it'll be a wonderful experience. But again, I can't really speak to it because I didn't do any of those excursions on this trip. I can
Yeah.
say I thought all of the excursions we went on, the tour guides were fabulous. They were interesting, educational. I just have nothing to complain about with the excursions. I thought they were fantastic.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, is there anything else about Crystal or about the Crystal Symphony that you think we haven't covered that you would want the audience to know about?
I'll just say that the crew on Crystal as a whole, both Serenity and Symphony, are just absolutely fantastic. They're so warm, friendly. I mean, if you want to talk to them, they're happy to talk to you. If you want to sit and read a book, they'll leave you alone, but you are never wanting for anything. The staff are just incredible. They work really, really hard, and you can tell that they just love what they do, though. And they get to travel the world as well. And so it's fun also to talk to the staff when they've had a day off and they've been able to get off the ship and explore and hear what they did and their experiences are traveling the world. The crew is really fantastic. I will say, for those who are familiar with Krystal may know that the parent company that previously owned Krystal went bankrupt during COVID.
Right.
And the line shut down for, actually, the ships were placed under arrest. It was very dramatic. The line is now owned by Abercrombie and Kent, which has been a luxury travel
Mhm.
agency operator for decades. And I think what they told us was 94% of the staff came back to Krystal,
Wow.
which is just
Yeah.
incredible. Actually, I was doing a Krystal cruise through Alaska 2 summers ago, and our butler walked in to introduce himself. And I said, "Gosh, you look familiar to me. Have you been with Krystal long?" And he started laughing. And he said, "Oh, yeah, the rest of the crew jokes that they built the ship around me because I have been with Krystal 90s since the beginning on the Crystal Harmony."
Wow.
And he said, when they
Wow.
went under during COVID, I retired. I said, "I will not work for another line. I'm just done working." And he
Mm.
said, then when they came back and they invited him back, he said, "Well, okay, I've got a few more years left in me and I would love to come back and work for Krystal again." So I think it also speaks volumes about the management of the ship, how happy the employees are, how many of them really wanted to come back to the ships. And it really shows that they enjoy. Yeah.
I love that story. Thanks. It's amazing. So let's take a step back from this particular sailing, and I'm just going to ask you a couple things I ask everyone.
Sure.
And the first question is, how do you define luxury?
Oh gosh. Obviously comfort, right? And sort of going that extra mile to make it luxurious is sort of having those comforts taken care of without you even having to ask or think about it. That those things are just sort of done automatically for you, feels very luxurious that you don't have to manage that. I think, especially as physicians, right? We're used to managing a lot in our lives. And so
Lots.
being able to go on these trips where everything has been thought of, everything has been taken care of. And again, certainly you're welcome to ask for things that you like, but so much of it, they're just going to do without you asking. And so for me, that's very luxurious.
Oh, I love that definition. Absolutely. Did this experience on Crystal meet that definition for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Do you have a dream cruise?
Oh, several. I
I love
would
that.
really like to explore the Arctic and do an expedition cruise. Of course, also Antarctica. That's a very popular cruise as well. But I would love
Yeah.
to go up to the Arctic and see the polar bears. That, yeah,
Mhm.
holds a lot of interest for me. So hopefully being able to do an expedition cruise, really to either pole, would be great. But the Arctic, I would have to say, is slightly higher on my list.
Yeah, mine too, both. Or do a pole to pole. I think there is one cruise line that either like in the near future has a pole to pole cruise from, whether you get to the exact like actual like North Pole, I'm not sure, but you go from above the Arctic Circle to Antarctica, so that's always cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Any cruises planned or other luxury travel?
I do have a couple more cruises planned on Crystal. So this summer, I am doing a Trans-Pacific cruise. So that had also been on my list to do for a while, a full ocean crossing. This one goes from Tokyo to Seward, Alaska. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And in the summer of 2027, I'm going with a friend of mine who I actually met on my very first Crystal cruise. And now we have gone on several cruises together. We are going in the summer of 2027 to Iceland and Greenland. And I'm very much looking forward to that
Amazing.
as well.
Yeah, those sound great. Well, I certainly hope you will come back and tell us about your other Crystal cruises. And thank you so much for being here this week. I love hearing about Crystal. It really is sort of like the pinnacle of luxury cruising on a larger scale, right? Maybe it's not Four Seasons yachts, but I do think it's up there in terms of luxury cruising. So thank you so much. And thank you to the audience for being here. Until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.